Hi guys, welcome to 9-inch Charge and the two Dannies. We're back. Woohoo! So today, oh no, first, how are you, Dan?
Oh, I'm fine, Dan.
Just
Thank you.
check in, just check
Thanks
in,
for asking.
make sure you're okay.
Yeah,
Right now
I'm
we've got
okay.
that out of the way. Today we're going to talk about proxy models, your thoughts and feelings on proxy models, and well, our feelings, I guess, and then we'll find out what you guys thought in the poll. So, Dan, your thoughts on proxy models?
I'm getting into proxy models. I had this big thing about proxy models for quite a long time and a bit of stigma about them. And it was caused by knowing that I'm going to bring my army to Warhammer World. So we play at Warhammer World. How many times do you reckon? Twice a year, something like that?
Yeah, maybe less now that we can't build models in Bugman's.
Yeah, but we do travel quite a bit, and we've both played in Games Workshop events, like official events, and they have a strict rule where you can't bring outside models, which completely understand, completely get that. But when I've been building my armies, I've always been making them kind of with a thought that, but if I include something external from Games Workshop, then I won't be able to play with it at Warhammer World. So I've converted models. I think we spoke before about the Celestial Hurricane I made that was Wood Elf themed with floating stones and things like that, and I made that, but I haven't included miniatures from other companies. Now this is changing now because I want to play Warhammer Fantasy Battles. I'm going to play a game today, and I can't get hold of all the models that I want, and Games Workshop don't make them. And then I looked over all the stuff that companies are making that you can download the STLs for, and they're flipping incredible. Hiding games are really good. There's loads of really good ones, and I bought some Tomb Kings as well. And I know you've been on the Green Dragon. Is it that what it's called? Forest Dragon, War Master stuff, and there is such a range out there that I just completely shut off because I've been in my little Games Workshop bubble, and now I'm all for it.
Yeah, but I think so there are lots of different aspects of proxy models, aren't there? So there's a big difference between using a 3D printed STL of, I don't know, a Treeman, for example, to using an upturned green half-size Pringles can. Isn't that? You know?
Are we going to talk about Jeremy? Shall we just get this out of the way?
What, and the Lego Dragon? Look, it always comes down to, again, what you want to get out of the game. So for me, the background, the immersion, the excitement of being of creating the game. If I'm going to turn up and give 2-3 hours of my time to play a game, I want it to be a visual spectacle, really, for me personally. I don't want to play against a Lego Dragon or a Pringles tube or any of that nonsense. It's not.
I once made a Wizard's Tower out of a Pringles tube.
That's a bit different when you're actually creating it, isn't it? At least it's round like a Wizard's Tower.
It wasn't just the Pringles tube, to be fair. It was painted and it had a roof and bits and bobs I put on. But yeah, I just remembered that when you said Pringles tube.
And I guess it's like the motivations as well. So if you're using a proxy model because you think it looks really cool or you want to try something out, then as long as the conversation with your opponent and they're happy with that, fine, obviously. If you're just using it because you've got like a massive rage issue with Games Workshop, then I just go and play something else. Play Mantic. If you feel you need to, you know. It's yeah, it just matters. I think for me, one thing I struggle with a bit is I really like the aesthetic of Games Workshop's aesthetic for Warhammer. So if a proxy miniature carries that aesthetic with it, then I've not got a problem. But quite often what you'll see is people will use a model and it just doesn't quite gel. It just doesn't quite fit. But I mean, that being said, it is their hobby. You know, let's be honest, Games Workshop's not gonna crash and burn into a world of debt and bankruptcy because a few people decide to 3D print the odd miniature or use a Pringles tube for something.
And it's good for the hobby, really, because we know Games Workshop have got a monopoly, and it's good to keep them on their toes a bit and make them think, oh, this company's making really good miniatures. You know, otherwise, what's the incentive for them to up the game? I would say they keep their monopoly because they do always up their game, but we don't want them to become lazy or complacent because nobody else is creating brilliant miniatures, and we want brilliant miniatures. You know, as many as we can get, don't we?
Yeah, I guess where it's a more interesting question is about what's allowed at events. Particularly if you're advertising your event, I think you should be really clear what is and isn't allowed. Because like I've just said, if I'm going to play a game, I have no interest in playing subpar representations of models and what have you. Because that's, for me, that's, you know, a big part of the hobby is the visual spectacle of the battlefield and the miniatures on the battlefield. And if I'm going to put aside my time and money to go to an event, I would want to play against painted armies that I could clearly see what they were when I'm playing. I don't like being gazumped. I just don't.
What do you think about my Living City army then? Because I said I don't proxy outside of Games Workshop, but for example, my Anointed on Frostheart Phoenix isn't an Anointed, it's a Wild Rider on Frostheart Phoenix. And my Shadow Warriors aren't Games Workshop Shadow Warriors, they're Way Watchers, because they're similar models that fit the theme. And there's quite a lot of that replicated through my Cities of Sigmar army. My Assassin, I like the Assassin model, don't get me wrong. But I found a really cool War Dancer model that I thought would be cool to be. That is like a Shadow Dancer that I thought would be really cool. So I do have proxies in the army, but I don't feel like it takes away from the aesthetic. And any tournament organizer I've ever asked, including Games Workshop and Warhammer World, have said that that's absolutely fine. In fact, when I showed them the picture of the Phoenix on top of the tree and stuff, they were like, "That's blooming awesome," which was nice to hear.
Yeah, but what you're talking about doesn't take away from the aesthetic; it adds to it, doesn't it? Like what you have done has made your army, you know, like your Celestial Hurricanum. That was just brilliant because it really invoked. You were allowed one in your army, but actually, there's an argument to say if you had the Games Workshop model of one, and then random unit of Wood Elves one, and then something else and a treatment, that would look weird because it would be really bitty. Whereas what you created was aesthetically really nice, and clear as to what it was. So, like, ultimately, your Way Watchers look ace, and when you look at a Shadow Warrior, it's an elf with a bow, and so is a Way Watcher. You know. So I think
I just want to do a shout out to the time where Games Workshop would give you a proxy model. If you bought a box, you could get a paper cutout dreadnought that you could take on the table.
Yeah. But, you know, again, it's about what you're trying to get out of the game. I mean, it wasn't appropriate for them to put a dreadnought in that box financially, or, you know, it used to be a metal dustbin, basically. And I think Altharian, I think they did the same with Altharian on Stormwing, actually, in the 4th edition fantasy battle.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think if they add to the game and to the experience, then they're brilliant. But yeah, we don't want to see.
But like, I won't choose if I'm going to go to an event and it says there's no painting requirement, I won't go. Because that's not for me. That's not what I want from an event. And equally, that's why I think it's good. It's important to be clear as like an event organizer, because if I go and I believe there is a painting requirement and I get my army ready, but then there isn't, and, you know, I would be disappointed,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't go again.
So what we're saying is we don't want to see Space Marines be Stormcast and vice versa, unless they're converted nicely.
Yeah. There's a time and a place, is what we're saying.
All right, let's have a look at the poll. So the question was, what's your opinion on proxy models? Let us know in the comments if you found or converted any you're really happy with. And then I've put, I often include them in my army, I rarely include them in my army, and I never include them in my army. And often include them is 35%, rarely include them is 37%, and never include them is 28%, which is the lowest. So most people are using proxy models of some kind.
I think also there's a bit about like what you count as a proxy. So, for example, I'm a big fan of, well, the type of thing you did where you've got the rules and a footprint for a miniature, but what it looks like you've made fit your army. And like a classic one for me is Space Marines. So often you'll get special characters such as Marnius Calgar, but you might want to do your own chapter. And I don't think there's anything wrong with creating a character and then utilizing the rules of another character to represent him, so long as you've not modeled it for advantage, for example. In fact, I think that's pretty cool. It's to me, I'm happier playing that than I would be if you just made up your own rules.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some comments. We've got one from Chris Goff.
Oh no.
I know. And he has said, honestly, I can't remember which of mine are from which manufacturer anymore.
Yes, that doesn't surprise me. That it goes for his rules as well as his miniatures.
He is one who makes up his own rules, actually, isn't he?
Yes, but does not apply to my previous comment here, because that's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's in a good way. Chris, for those who don't know, is a friend of ours who publishes his own games and things. All right, so we've got another one. Marko Vidakovic said, I almost never include them, but I have no problem other people using them for a friendly game. Like you said, as long as it's not modeled for advantage, then, very happy to use them in any sort of game. And then Joseph Skulls has commented again. Well, I used to have a Forge World Praetor I proxied as a Chaos Lord with jump pack, but since they took that away, ...
Oh, this is the same dude that commented on the
Gloom's Fight Gears
about
yeah.
Oh dear.
I think Games Workshop are just out to get you, mate. From the sounds of it,
I think they are. I think they've got a little ideas jar with your name on and ways to wind you up, and they put little bits of paper in for their ideas.
So yeah, sorry to hear that, but yeah, I think we tend to agree. I know it seems split down the middle because I've put 3 options, but actually, never include them as only 28%. So people overwhelmingly do include them, and so do we. So, well, actually, do you, Dan?
No.
Oh, so do I. Then I should say. But maybe that'll be my thing. Maybe Christmas is coming. Maybe I'll buy you an alternative something for you.
I'm trying to think
some of your armies.
I'm trying to think through my armies. No,
I can't think of
any. No. But then I don't even proxy my clippers. So, I'm insane.
If it doesn't have Citadel on it, that's it. It's not being purchased, is it?
It doesn't work, yeah.
All right. Thank you for everyone for watching. Thank you for those who took part in the poll. Thank you for those who left a comment for us to have a natter about, because we always love having a bit of a natter about the hobby. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like. If you want to see more for the 2 Dannys, please subscribe, and we will be back next week for more nonsense.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.